Listening to the Fringianity Underground podcast. Fringe topics with a Christian point of view. Now here's your host, Leo Rutledge. This is the Enoch analysis episode part 3 of my analysis and my point of view and my opinion of the book of Enoch in its full. This is part 3, so we are well into the book of Enoch. So please check out part 1 and 2 leading up to this episode before listening to this one, so that you kind of know where things are. Here's where I left off last in the book of Enoch, reading.
From the days of the slaughter and destruction and death of the giants, from the soul of whose flesh the spirits have gone forth, shall destroy without incurring judgment. Thus shall they destroy until the day of the consummation, the great judgment, in which the age shall be consummated over the watchers and the godless. Yea, shall be wholly consummated. And now as to the watchers who have sent thee to intercede for them who have been aforetime in heaven, say to them, you have been in heaven.
Okay, so that was from last episode of the book of Enoch reading, or analysis, or whatever you want to call it. So that was basically God talking to Enoch and telling Enoch to go back and talk to the fallen angels who took wives of the daughters of men and broke God's rules, basically, and rebelled. Now, they're not faring well with God, so God's not speaking to them. He's speaking to Enoch in heaven, which is kind of cool. So Enoch is sitting in the throne room of God, talking to God, and he is basically going back. He's the messenger to deliver the message from God to the fallen angels, which is very interesting for a man to have that job. But like the Bible says, Enoch was no more because he was with God. So therefore he must be able to go with God. So he must have been a righteous man and a perfect man in some way, because I don't know how you can stand before the throne of God without being perfect. So God must have purified him and gave him a body that could withstand being in front of the Lord. So anyway, that's where I left off on the second part, or the second episode. Now I'm going to continue forward with the next reading.
Say to them, you have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to you, and you knew worthless ones, and these in the hardness of your hearts you have made known to the women, and through these mysteries women and men work much evil on earth. Say to them, therefore, you have no peace. And they took and brought me to a place in which those who were there were like in flaming fire. And when they wished, they appeared as men.
Now, just a break here in between all that. That right there is very interesting. Some people say, well, angels have no sex, or they have no changeling qualities. But if the book of Enoch is to be believed, then they can definitely change, because he just said that they could look as men whenever they wanted to. So that right there is notable. So keep that in mind. And also the Bible does talk about how you might be in the presence of an angel unknowingly, So if you meet someone on the street, you might be in the presence of an angel unknowingly, And, there's all kinds of videos out there you'll see of supposed angels saving people. We don't know. But the thing is it's believable then to believe that angels can take the shape of men in certain times and places or whatever, whenever they decide to. But before they took the shape of men, it's talking about these guys, these were in the shape of fire, basically. So they're basically on fire. At least that's the way I understood what they just said about these angels. That's kind of interesting. I'll get back to the reading. I just wanted to break in there to say that, because that's something that we as Christians should realize, that the angels can take the shape of men when they want to. And that's probably what they did when they took wives of the daughters of men in Genesis 6. They took the shape of men before they had, when they married the daughters of men, and then those women gave birth to the giants or the Nephilim or whatever you want to call it. So they basically looked like us at one point just to get the woman pregnant or to marry them. I don't know if they would take the shape of human forever. So whatever. That's just an interesting point. I'll continue.
And they brought me to the place of darkness and to a mountain, the point of whose summit reached to heaven. And I saw the places of luminaries, and the treasuries of the stars and of the thunder, and in the uttermost depth were a fiery bow and arrows and their quiver, and a fiery sword and all the lightning. And they took me to the living waters, and to the fire of the west, which receives every settings of the sun. And I came to a river of fire, in which the fire flows like water, and discharges itself into the great sea towards the west. I saw the great rivers, and came to the great river, and to the great darkness, and went to the place where no flesh walks. I saw the mountains of the darkness of winter, and the place whence all the waters of the deep flow. I saw the mounts of all the rivers of the earth, and the mount of the deep. I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation, and the firm foundation of the earth. And I saw the cornerstones of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the earth, and the firmament of the heaven. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven. I saw the winds of heaven, which turn and bring the circumferences of the sun, and all the stars to their setting. I saw the winds of the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above, and I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east, and 3 towards the south. And as for those towards the east, one was of colored stone, and one of pearl, and one of jacinth, and those towards the south of red stone. But the middle one reached to heaven, like the throne of God, of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth. There the heavens were completed, and I saw a deep abyss, with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measures, alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond the abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and horrible place. I saw there 7 stars, like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquire regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years. And Uriel the angel said to me, Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of. And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens. And I, Enoch alone, saw the vision, the end of all things, and no man shall see as I have seen. And these are the names of the holy angels who watch. Uriel, one of the holy angels who is over the world and over Tartarus. Raphael, one of the holy angels who is over the spirits of men. Raguel, one of the holy angels who takes vengeance on the world of the luminaries. Michael, one of the holy angels, to wit he that is set over the best part of mankind and over chaos. Sarakel, one of the holy angels who is set over the spirits who sin in the spirit. Gabriel, one of the holy angels who is over paradise and the serpents and the cherubim. Ramiel, one of the holy angels whom God set over those who rise. The second journey of Enoch. Preliminary and final place of punishment of the fallen angels. And I proceeded to where things were chaotic, and I saw there something horrible. I saw neither a heaven above nor a firmly founded earth, but a place of chaotic and horrible. And there I saw 7 stars of the heaven bound together in it, like great mountains and burning with fire. And then I said, For what sin are they bound, and on what account have they been cast in here? Then said Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, and was chief over them, and said, Enoch, why do you ask? And why are you eager for the truth? These are of the number of the stars of heaven, which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord, and are bound here till 10,000 years. The time entailed by their sins are consummated, and from thence I went to another place, which was still more horrible than the former. And I saw a horrible thing, a great fire there which burnt and blazed, and the place was cleft as far as the abyss, being full of great descending columns of fire. Neither its extent or magnitude could I see, nor could I conjecture. Then I said, How fearful is the place, and how terrible to look upon! And then Uriel answered me, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, Enoch, why hast thou such fear and affright? And I answered, because of this fearful place, and because of the spectacle of the pain. And he said unto me, this place is the prison of the angels, and here they will be imprisoned forever. Sheol of the underworld. And thence I went to another place, and the mountain of hard rock, and there was in it 4 hollow places, deep and wide and very smooth. How smooth are the hollow places, and deep and dark to look at. Then Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me, and said unto me, these hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble therein. Yea, that all the souls of the children of men should assemble here. And these places have been made to receive them till the day of their judgment, until their appointed period, till the great judgment comes upon them. I saw the spirit of a dead man making suit, and his voice went forth to heaven and made suit. And I asked Raphael, the angel who was with me, and I said unto him, this spirit which maketh sooth, who is he? Whose voice goeth forth and makes sooth to heaven? And he answered me, saying, this is the spirit which went forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew, and he makes the sooth against him till his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men.
Okay, so they're talking about Enoch is seeing Abel, and Abel is basically calling out to God, and he's still calling out to his blood is still calling out to God. He's seeking justice still at this point. But you got to remember, Enoch is outside of time with an angel guiding him, showing him these places. And it's an interesting thing that there's a place that Abel is at, basically waiting for the day of judgment and all that stuff. So there's a waiting. It's not, I'm not going to say it's purgatory, but you're not absent from the body, present with the Lord, according to what's going on here. Because if absent from the body, present with the Lord was true, then Abel, when he did die and Cain killed him, he would have been instantly taken up to heaven, judged, and whatever, and then he would be entering heaven, most likely. And so he would already be in heaven right now. But it's a very interesting thing that they're talking about how Abel is still calling out for justice. Now maybe let's take a look at this from a different angle. Now maybe Enoch is seeing the past, present, and the future all at the same time, because he's outside of time. So he's actually looking down and seeing back in the past, maybe, when Abel was killed and his blood was crying out to the Lord. And maybe Abel is in heaven at this point, but he's seeing the past. So there's two takes that I see that you could be how we could see that. Now, I mean, this is just my opinion. I'm not no Bible scholar. I'm not this great big knowledgeable person, so don't take my word as gospel. But that's how I am seeing this. Now, the book of Enoch is very dense with a lot of facts and a lot of information, so it's hard to take in some of this stuff very easily, so for me to really understand it completely is a joke. There's no way I could tell you that I understand every single thing that's happening at all times. I'm just going to be honest with you on that. But that's how I understood that little part there, because Enoch is basically being taken on a journey to different places. He's being shown all these places by this angel. And Enoch is basically doing what any human would do. I mean, you could definitely tell that Enoch is a human because he has fear. When he sees Sheol and he sees all the torment, which Sheol is basically hell, when he sees all the torment and all the terrible things that are going on there, he's fearful. Now, if you notice, the angel is like, why are you fearful or whatever? And it's, in other words, the angel is not, doesn't have any fear. The angel has no, like, emotional response to that. So it's really interesting how the angel, Uriel, I think his name is, basically talks to Enoch like, he doesn't understand what Enoch is feeling, And that's another thing that's kind of interesting. If you go down that path and you think about that, if angels don't actually have they don't have the expression of emotion like we do, or fear, or all that stuff, then if we go down that path, now imagine the fallen angels. What must they actually think? What if their offspring is similar? What if their offspring is lacking in certain emotions like compassion, care? What if their offspring are basically a bunch of narcissistic, soulless, only care about myself because I'm better than the human race, because they cannot relate to the human race, because they're not part of the human race, And what if their seed, as it grew and passed on, is the same kind of people kind of like that. I'm not saying all people in the world today that are narcissistic or selfish or whatever are technically the offspring of the giants or the fallen angels. I'm just saying, what if some of the traits that the giants had, or what if these fallen angels not having human emotion and their offspring having a similar type of view? What if that's how we can kind of tell, like these global elites that run the world? If you notice, they're very egotistical. They're very self-motivated. They think that they are better than anybody else. Why do they think they're better than everyone else? Maybe they are the offspring of the giants and the fallen angels. Maybe that's why their attitude is that way. Now, my point is, because it talks about the wheat and the chaff will grow up together in the end, and God will burn, the wheat from the chaff, But Jesus says, let them grow together until the day of judgment. So he's basically, it sounds like he's talking about two kinds of races almost. The human race and the fallen, Because it talks about how, they are of their father, the devil. Well, how can you be of the father, the devil, unless you are part of the offspring or something like that? Maybe that's like a statement. In other words, they're a bad person. But it's just an interesting thought, okay? I'm not saying that people that are bad are literally offspring of the giants or the fallen angels. It's just a thought I think about sometimes. So anyway, I'll get back to it. Here's the rest of it.
From the face of the earth, and his seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men. Regarding it and regarding all the hollow places, why is one separated from the other? And he answered me and said unto me, these three have been made that the spirit of the dead might be separated. And such a division has been made for the spirit of the righteous, in which there is the bright spring of water. And such has been made for sinners, which they die and are buried in the earth, and judgment has not been executed on them in their lifetime. Here their spirits shall be set apart in this great pain, till the great day of judgment and punishment and torment of those who curse forever, and retribution for their spirit. There he shall bind them forever. And such a division has been made for the spirits of those who make their suit, who make disclosure concerning their destruction. When they were slain in the days of the sinners, such has been made for the spirits of men who were not righteous, but sinners, who were complete in transgression, and of the transgressors they shall be companions, but their spirits shall not be slain in the day of judgment, nor shall they be raised from tents. See, I blessed the Lord of glory and said, Blessed be my Lord, the Lord of righteousness, who rule forever. From thence I went to another place, to the west of the ends of the earth, and I saw a burning fire, which ran without resting, and paused not from its course day or night, but ran regularly. And I asked, saying, What is this which rests not? And then Raguel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered me and said unto me, This course of fire which thou hast seen is the fire in the west, which persecuted all the luminaries of heaven. The 7 mountains in the northwest, and the tree of life. And from thence I went to another place of the earth, and he showed me a mountain range of fire, which burnt day and night. And I went beyond it and saw 7 magnificent mountains, all different each from the other, and the stones thereof were magnificent and beautiful, magnificent as a whole, of glorious appearance and fair exterior. 3 towards the east, one founded on the other, and 3 towards the south, one upon the other, and deep, rough ravines, no one of which joined with any other. And the 7 mountains was in the midst of these, and it excelled them in height, resembling the seat of a throne. And fragrant trees encircled the throne, and amongst them was a tree such as I had never yet smelt. Neither was any amongst them, nor were others like it. It had a fragrance beyond all fragrances, and its leaves and blooms and wood wither not forever. And its fruit is beautiful, and its fruit resembles the dates of a palm. Then I said, How beautiful is this tree, and fragrant, and its leaves are fair, and its blooms very delightful in appearance. And then answered Michael, one of the holy and honored angels who was with me, and was their leader, and he said unto me, Enoch, why doth you ask me regarding the fragrance of the tree, and why does you wish to learn the truth? And then I answered him, saying, I wish to know about everything, but especially about this tree. And he answered, saying, This high mountain, which you have seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is his throne, where the Holy Great One, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. And as for the fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it till the great judgment, when he shall take vengeance on all and bring everything to its consummation forever. It shall then be given to the righteous and holy. Its fruits shall be for food to the elect. It shall be transplanted to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. Then shall they rejoice with joy and be glad, and into the holy place shall they enter. And its fragrance shall be in their bones, and they shall live a long life on earth, such as thy father lived. And in their days shall no sorrow, or plague, or torment, or calamity touch them. Then blessed I the God of glory, the eternal King, who hath prepared such things for the righteous, and hath created them, and promised to give to them Jerusalem and the mountains, ravines and streams. And I went from thence to the middle of the earth, and I saw a blessed place in which there were trees with branches abounding and blooming over this dismembered tree. And there I saw a holy mountain. And underneath the mountain to the east there was a stream, and it flowed towards the south. And I saw towards the east another mountain, higher than this, and between them a deep and narrow ravine. In it also ran a stream underneath the mountain, and to the west thereof there was another mountain, lower than the former and of small elevation, and a ravine deep and dry between them. And another deep and dry ravine was at the extremities of the 3 mountains. And all the ravines were deep, ran narrow, being formed of hard rock, and trees were not planted upon them. And I marveled at the rocks, and I marveled at the ravine.
Okay, so Enoch is basically seeking as much knowledge as he can about this new environment that he's in. He's not, he's from Earth, obviously, so he has so much to learn if he's going to be living in heaven, because he does eventually go and God takes him with him, in other words. So if God takes him, then can you imagine how much he sits there trying to learn every day? I mean, he's probably asking questions all the time and never stops, And I mean, 1,000 years is one day to God. So can you imagine how much time he has to learn and learn and learn and get to know the things that God created? Boy, I tell you what, sometimes I honestly wish that God would be able to take me like that, so that I could just get out of this world and the sinful body and the sinful, just everything that's sinful around you. You could feel it, It would make you purify, just be taken away from the things that lead you astray, Can you imagine, without no temptation, there's nothing. You're able to live as God wanted you to. So that's what Enoch is doing. He's living as God wanted him to, as he intended for the human race. And, the Bible talks about how we're supposed to come to the Lord as a child. A child asks questions. So what's Enoch doing? He's asking questions. He's doing all of the things of a child of the Lord, literally, He's wanting to know. He wants to know how the world was built, how these things are. He's talking about, he was being shown all these things by the angels, and they're teaching him what these things are, and they're showing him. Now, the reason why I think the book of Enoch is actually a really good book I don't know why it was taken out of the original canon of the Bible, but the reason why I think that it's quoted even by Jesus, and it's pointed out that that's literally, that it's not made up, at least the first book. There's other books of the book of Enoch that they try to change things and do things differently. But this is the authentic one that I'm audio playing right now on this show. But the thing is it's very interesting how Enoch is really a man seeking knowledge of the Lord. And it's basically a good story for people who are still learning about the Bible. I think you should read Genesis 6 or Genesis and then read the book of Enoch, because then you'll get a better perspective of what really was happening back then. The story of Enoch is really the story of all men, because all humans are going to do the same thing any human that eventually goes to heaven is going to be doing exactly what Enoch did. I guarantee you, if I make it into heaven, I'm going to be asking an angel or whatever, beings that are from heaven, I'm going to be asking questions. I'm going to want to know a lot. And we have eternity to know these things, to find them out. So you imagine how that would be. And imagine for the ones that actually abide with Jesus, the ones that are in, his chamber or whatever, sealed for forever and ever with him. Or those guys are going to be, they're going to be, they're the actual people who will know and be more curious. They'll get to see everything, I think. I don't know. Might be messing that up. So, like I said, don't quote me as the gospel here, okay? I'm just like you. I'm still learning. But the reason why I chose this is because this is a very interesting book, and nobody seems to talk about it like in churches. You won't hear anybody talking about the book of Enoch. When they read Genesis 6 as it is, they kind of rush past that because there's giants in that, and humans were living a lot longer than we live today, and there's a bunch of stuff going on. Fallen angels are having sex with the daughters of men, and all these things are happening, and I'm sure churches and pastors a lot of pastors today don't want a lot of questions, or they don't want to offend anyone, so they just kind of leave that, let's read past that real quick. Don't ask any questions. I know, because when I was younger, I had a Bible summer school I went to, and I asked the teacher, well, if Goliath was a giant, then where are the other giants? And he kind of laughed. He laughed at me in front of the class. So it was like what I said was a joke. And then he said, well, we don't need to worry about that. And then he just went to the next thing, and it just kind of brushed it aside. Well, that's a good question. And ever since then, that actually led me kind of away from the church. I was kind of upset that the church treated me like that. That was it's basically mocking you or making fun of you in front of the whole class because you asked a smart question, because you wanted to know more about God's Word. So that guy was kind of stupid. I don't know what the heck because he didn't have the answer, that's why. It's because he did not know the answer, and he would have had to search the Bible. He would have had to actually read some of the real scriptures, and he probably never would read the book of Enoch, see. So that's what I'm saying. Pastors are not reading the book of Enoch. So when they read about the giants and all that stuff, they just go, let's just brush past that real quickly. But here's the thing. When newcomers come to church and they hear the pastor reading the parts of the Bible where it talks about God telling the Israelites, I believe, to go out and kill every man, woman, and child in the land. Now, if a newcomer hears that, and then they read the Ten Commandments and it says, thou shalt not kill, they're going to say that God is delusional. They're going to see the thing that doesn't match up here, okay? Why would God command those people to do exactly the opposite of what he commands? See what I'm saying? And I've actually been in a church when they actually read that part of the Bible, and I just remember thinking, it's amazing how this guy is not pointing out that these were the giants and their offspring that they were killing. They had no place on the earth originally anyway. They were the fallen angels' offspring. The earth was not made for the fallen angel and their offspring. The earth was made for humans and for God's pleasure. So, the thing, that's where people could want to leave the church right there. If a newcomer comes in and they're seeking the truth and they want to know the Bible, and they hear that God says to go out and kill every man, woman, and child, now they're just going to go, Christianity's no different than Islam. See? They'll say, Christianity's no different than Muhammad. See? That's what they'll say. And and technically they're right, because they didn't read, the pastor wasn't telling them the whole story, because he's only reading what it says right there. But he does not counter that with the actual scripture where it talks about there were giants in the land. But whatever, that's something that's kind of my pet peeve. I don't mean to go off on a rant there, but that's something that really gets to me sometimes, is these pastors do not want to read. It's a big deal. You have to know this stuff. If you want to know God, you have to know all of God, not just little aspects, That's why the Word of God is presented in full. You're supposed to read through the whole thing and study it. I mean, don't you think it pleases God to study and know everything about Him, not just little few things? Well, whatever. That's just kind of my rant for that. But it's interesting how, Enoch is really is basically the man's man. He's out there asking questions. He wants to know what is going on and how the heavens work and everything. And he's like a child. He is asking questions. He is coming to the Lord as a child. He is curious. He wants to understand. And God has let him go with these angels, and they're telling him all these things so that he understands. And that's really kind of cool. I mean, this guy is really being given a tour of heaven. And not just heaven, all of the different realms of heaven, like different places. He's going to all these places where he can see hell, he can see paradise, he can see all these places where people go when they die. He can see outside of time, he can see in time, he can see the past, present, the future. He's seeing all of the things that these angels see and that God sees. And for a human to be taken from being human and to be taken to be with God and to be allowed to learn all this stuff is really cool. Well, that's all the time I have for this analysis of Enoch. This is only part 3, so I'll be continuing, not every week, but every other week or so. So with that, thank you for listening. If you enjoy this show, please feel free to share it. You can find us on Spreaker, iTunes, and most podcatchers. And if you'd like to support the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Spreaker or wherever you find this show. And for more information on this show, go to the Fringianity Underground podcast Facebook group and like us. Images will be posted there for this show and others as well. Please check Spreaker or wherever you get this podcast every Sunday evening for new episodes. And thank you for listening.